Wait, Mario Kart on the Atari Jaguar? Hold on, there actually might be a decent game on the Atari Jaguar, but it's not a good game, unfortunately. It's Atari Karts. It's a Atari Jaguar game being played on the Atari 50 Anniversary Collection. Let me crank up the music a little bit. It's under here somewhere. We're not going to do it too much. But here's the thing. Jaguar had a library that was apparently full of crap, as I'm finding out myself. So I've played a bunch of Jaguar games that all suck. Trevor McFur's god-awful. Dino Dudes is terrible. Let's see. Tempest 2000 might be okay, but I'm not holding out much hope for it. I played a little bit of it already. Club Drive is awful. Ruiner is the only game I've played so far that isn't terrible on this console. Aliens vs. Predator isn't on here. This Virtua Fighter clone is god-awful. We'll be playing a separate video of that later. But this is apparently their attempt to make a Mario Kart style game. It has a bit of potential early on, but as you play it, you'll begin to see the obvious problems this game has. Like, if you were looking at video, like if they had YouTube back then, you would see footage of this game and say, okay, this kind of looks like Mario Kart. And I need to make this clear. Mario Kart is a game that came out, what, 1993? 1993, I want to say. It was a game that it was a 16-bit console. It had a special chip inside that used Mode 7 graphics like this to get the little rotation going on. So these flat, rotating bitmaps you see here are what are perfectly common and acceptable in Mario Kart. What Mario Kart also has is somewhat more forgiving track designs. And the tracks are a lot larger, too. This is a game where if you slam into another character, you're going to bounce several feet to the side if you play bumper cars with them. And you cannot cut corners in this game really at all. If you try to leave the track in any way in this game, you're probably going to get stuck against an invisible wall. And by the way, what you just saw was a very short course. Like, I want to say the shortest track on Mario Kart is twice as long as this track is. So we'll play a bit of this. Not those options. Did I press a different button? Accelerate, brake, yeah, up, down. You press down the D-pad for reverse. Accelerate with X. You can do a sharp left or a sharp right with the L2 and R2 buttons. Enable bonuses. And we'll see how that goes. For the manual. There are 4 levels. Choose your mode, flat or hilly terrain. I'm curious what that does. At the beginner challenge, you choose from 7 characters. The game tells you what their stats are. The manual wasn't that helpful, but you'll be able to see that each character has different different attributes as far as their top speed, their acceleration, and their cornering ability. Just like in Mario Kart. You'll meet 4 more fearsome races before you're through. If you come in first place in the miracle race of any challenge, you'll be given the opportunity to select your reserve car for the remaining races. Okay. Slightly better abilities than the others. Okay. Miracle Man. 2-player game where there is a 2-player map. But here's the thing, as you saw in the 1-player mode, there is no map screen. Because on the Super NES and Mario Kart, obviously, the game took place on the top. The race took place on the top, but the map was on the bottom. So you can always kind of see the layout of the area in 1-player mode. You have to complete. There was also, I want to say there was also a reverse camera, so you could see behind you. Again, on the Super NES, Mario Kart was a technical feat, arguably as much of a technical feat as Star Fox. The difference, of course, being that Mario Kart ran at 60 frames a second with the split-screen action. Star Fox barely ran at 12, maybe 15 tops, and it looked ugly as crap. Mario Kart sort of holds up as a... Let me put it this way. It holds up because the action that takes place in a relatively smooth, with a smooth visual delivery. Not a lot of choppiness. But yeah, you have the ugly bitmap graphics that were common on Super NES games that use Mode 7 for everything. So there is that, but the game still holds up for what it is. This game, however, is on a more powerful console, ostensibly. Like, arguably the hardware on the Jaguar was far more powerful than anything on the Super NES, but you're not going to see that in this game. This game should have eaten Mario Kart for lunch, because it came out at least a year and a half after it. But it just goes to show that you gotta have the time and the resources to make a game as good as Mario Kart, even if you have more powerful hardware. It's just the way it works. You gotta have the talent, the time, and the resources. And I tend to believe this game got much less of that than Mario Kart did. Let's see. Bonuses and hazards. First of all, that picture of Bentley Bear is kind of wacky, but he's from Crystal Castles, the old arcade game, if you remember that. I guess I'll show you a clip of the original arcade game before we end this video, so you can get some idea about where Bentley Bear came from. But he's not exactly held in high esteem amongst video game history. He's more how I describe him. If he were a basketball player, I guess he would be Liddell Eccles. He's the Liddell Eccles of video game characters. Although, I mean, Liddell Eccles was good for like a couple of months back for the Washington Bullets, I want to say. Bentley Bear was popular for like a year and a half, I guess. So maybe he would. I guess he's like the. What would you call him? Would you call him the Horace Grant? No, he never won any championships. Never mind. Okay, enough with the football analogies. Enough with the basketball analogies. No skidding. Only one hazard or bonus can be picked up at a time. If one is already active, running over another one doesn't do anything. Rabbit gives you a long burst of speed. Gold Speedo gives you a burst. The wheel, no friction. Why would I want no friction? Steer means no skidding, which might be good, depending on how you want to turn, I guess. Heart gives you an extra life. Red versus your controls. Green arrow versus your opponent's controls. Well, it's an AI character. I'm not sure what difference that will make. Keep tabs on your laptops like a pro and compare the results of your performance on different checks. It's just like the real thing. Yeah, sure, dog. Try to take the lead as soon as possible. Would be more likely to avoid collisions. So it's the opposite of rock and roll racing, where you're supposed to hang back for as long as you can, so that you can let the enemies wipe each other out. Avoid the water on the ice world. Sure, thanks. Take the inside edge for cornering, but stay away from the actual track edge. Contact with the edge of some tracks can really slow you down. Yeah, like invisible walls will slow you down. In Mario Kart, the tracks are more forgiving. You can drive on grass pretty often. In this game, there's a lot of invisible walls everywhere. Avoid oil slicks. Avoid the blood. Sure, avoid the blood. Sounds like a good idea. Avoid colliding. Sure. I mean, it says the very first tip says you're more likely to avoid collisions, so I guess that's important. The ramps in the beach road. Okay, fine. Look for jump ramps, help you over natural hazards. Sure, I mean, whatever. That's it. That's the manual. Well, let's see how we do. I'm not expecting to play this game very much. Check the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. You can see all the stats here. High speed and good cornering ability, but not much acceleration. Above average speed. So, not much acceleration. This was like, I guess Pulpito's like Mario. Scully. He's only good in... So I guess he's like Toad. He's like Toad and Koopa in Mario Kart. Miss Tress is very fast with the acceleration, so she's like the princess in Yoshi. Bentley Bear is the Mario of this game. He's good at everything, I guess. Volky is top speed, but he's not good at it, so I guess he's like Bowser and Donkey Kong. Okay, so I guess there's a bit more variability, because there were only 4 car types in Mario Kart, but there were 4 different car types, and then there were clones. So Mario and Luigi had the same attributes, basically. It's like Ken and Ryu in the original Street Fighter 2. They were mirrors of each other. So you can play, so 2 players can choose the same attributes in two-player mode, basically. I guess we can go with Bentley. Well, I mean, I don't care. I want to be able to hit the corners. I guess I can play with the Regius. He's not very good at acceleration, but probably won't matter. So I guess we'll go with Mistress. And of course, the big racers in Mario Kart. Bowser and Donkey Kong can knock people around and not slow up very much. It probably doesn't matter much in this game. We'll see if it does. See, bumper cars. The bumper cars in this game are pretty nasty, so if the tracks were larger, that would be fine. Whoops. I should play with the D-pad. Are there only 7 racers in the game? Or is someone just really slow? Circle. No, what is it? Square? There it is. Press square. See, that was an invisible wall. You saw that? I bounced off an invisible wall when I tried to cut the corner there, so... This game is not very forgiving, unfortunately. Whoop! Almost got in first. Square. I don't know what I got. Did I get a no traction ability? I don't know. That is a really bad turn. Whoop! What happened? Someone hit me? Oh, I hit the L2 button for a sharp corner. Okay, so I can hit the L2 button for a sharp corner. But you can't really power slide, I don't think. Yeah, see, you can't power slide too much, otherwise you'll spin out. Okay. Wow, I cut that corner. I just think there are too many invisible walls. So I was able to cut some of those corners. See? Okay, so I'm spinning out, so you can't really power slide in this game. You can't really power slide in this game, because if you press left 2 a little bit, you'll spin out. Because in Mario Kart, when you hold down that L or that R button, you can really hug a corner. If you're really good at it, you can skid really tight. You can really cut those corners in Mario Kart if you practice power sliding. You can't really... You almost never spin out in Mario Kart when you do a skid. But you can barely drift in this game. But you can definitely drift for days in Mario Kart, man. That's embarrassing. Yeah, do I get a boost off the line? Cut that corner. Okay, so pull your finger off the, take your finger off the steering wheel, then press L2. Oh, that's how it works. You take your finger off the steering wheel, then press L2 to do the tight corner. Like that. Okay. So don't use the steering wheel when you press L2 or R2. Otherwise you'll spin out. Can you fall in the water? I can't tell. Uh-oh, I got stuck in... Yeah, I got stuck in an invisible wall. That wasn't cool. Out the way! So I think just leaving your finger off the... Take your finger off the steering wheel and you can hold down the L2 or R2 buttons to take a tight corner. That seems to be how it works. Well, maybe not too much, but it seemed to work. Yeah, take your finger off the accelerator, too. That seems to work. I'm in second place again, somehow. You take your finger off the accelerator seems to work. Yeah. I guess that seems to work. That was 5 laps? Well, these courses are really short. Like, Mario Kart had 3 laps, but they were long courses. Here, you're barely... Here, it seems like you're just doing donuts. You're doing donuts in a parking lot. These courses are not very long. Maybe they get a lot longer later. I don't know. Music seems a little unimpressive. It sounds like a C, or Super NES soundtrack. Like, Mario Kart is like, it's okay. I give it like a B- as far as like music goes. I'd probably give it like a B- or a C+. there isn't any music in Mario Kart I've ever wanted to listen to outside of the game itself, so it's not that big of a deal, I don't think. Now, F-Zero X, on the other hand, that's an amazing soundtrack, but that's an N64, that doesn't count. That doesn't really count. Did I forget to turn on the hills? Because unlike Mario Kart, this game actually has hills. I mean, they're not much, but they're something. And frankly, they're kind of nauseating. looks like I'm driving over a river of mud. And again, having the split screen that might actually help, because the split screen means that you can It means that you can avoid some of the noise that's on the top of the screen, all that empty space at the top of the screen. Well, I guess it does take some processing power off the Jaguar, the poor Jaguar. Poor Tom and Jerry with the 32-bit processor can't play a game as well as Mario Kart does. The frame rate's 60 though, but we're not capturing at 60. We'll do a 60 frame per second video later. This is mainly a research stream, so we'll do a 60 frame per second video a bit later. I just want to establish the basics here. I mean, it'll be nice to see me play a Jaguar game at 60 frames a second, so there is that, I suppose. So we'll be playing more of this, I guess. We'll play at 60 frames a second the next time I play. It'll be fun. That was 5 laps. Didn't feel like it. Yeah, there are hills in this game. Yeah, I get kind of a... It's like a mod tracker. It's like a mod tracker soundtrack, like an Amiga game. Maybe this was an Amiga game. Wouldn't be shocked if it was. Well, I'm not a fan of these stretched out graphics, though. They just look ugly. Again, Mario Kart wasn't exactly a gobsmackingly gorgeous game or anything, but it looks a bit more impressive than this. Which isn't saying much. See, this is like Koopa Beach, basically. This doesn't look as bright. Everything just looks muddier than Koopa Beach. Again, Mario Kart is not a fantastic looking game, but it looks more colorful than this. Kind of disappointed. See, stuff like this, like you had a much larger color palette. This console had 16 million colors, right? Which is probably color math, let's be honest. They're probably combining colors to make some of these extra colors, but what's the point of having all these colors on screen at once if you're barely even using the colors you have properly? Sometimes it's about using the right colors, you know what I mean? Like all of those like all those PS2 and PS3 games that just look drab and ugly. Still in first. I'm lapping dudes. Better catch up, Bentley. I'm beating the 6th place. I'm lapping the 6th place dudes. Come on, look at that. I was lapping dudes in 6th place. And that's the other problem with these short courses, is that you lap people too easily. So these courses are so short that you're doing your final lap while the guy in last place is coming up to the 3rd lap. I'm on the 5th lap. The dude in 8th place is on their 4th. And that's how much these people are slowing down. It's ridiculous. So yeah, I'll have to do a separate video, 60 frames a second, but this game is not particularly stunning. Again, imagine being the poor, parent who bought their kid a Jaguar who says, "Mommy, I want to play Mario Kart." You have Mario Kart at home. Imagine spending $60 on this game. Again, this was the Neo Geo conundrum. You spent $600 on a Neo Geo. You're spending $200 on a video game like Fatal Fury, which has fewer characters, less impressive, less depth, worse music. Arguably, the graphics weren't much better than the Super NES version of Street Fighter 2. But that's what I mean. Why buy Fatal Fury if you had a Neo Geo? Why spend $160 on Fatal Fury with only 3 fighters and, worse graphics, worse control, worse everything? When you can spend that same money to buy a Super Nintendo with a $70 copy of Street Fighter 2. which is objectively a better game. Like, the resolution was lower, but I mean, are you going to tell me that Street Fighter 2 is a worse game than Fatal Fury because of the freaking resolution being lower? I'm in third place now. Oh, we're in Bowser's Castle now. Ah. Couldn't hit that corner. Again, with the stupid invisible walls. I'm still in third place somehow. Thanks for the boost. Yeah, I just screwed this up a bit. Ow. Yeah, I think I just want to redo this. I want to redo this course. Even the soundtrack isn't as jaunty as, just not as jaunty as Super Mario's best music. It just feels like kind of drab. I guess they're going for an atmospheric vibe. Yeah, the final lap. Whoops. That was a bad corner I just took. These earbuds are not great. They keep falling out. They're too small. They're too big for my ears, I guess. So you have to let your finger off the accelerator and hit these corners. Those carts in front of me slowed down a lot before I crossed that line. Yeah, this sounds kind of like a French. It sounds like the music from Flashback on the Sega CD. Very synth vibey. I was trying to retry. Okay, here we are. That took a long time to load. I don't know what was going on with that. No boost off the line. I guess I can slam into the back wall. That might work. So I can press L2 and R2 to zigzag. That's cool. Might be a bit much, but it works. Yeah, I can zigzag by taking my finger off the accelerator and just pressing L2 and R2. That might help me out with some of these, whatchamacallits. But again, don't hold down the accelerator, otherwise you'll spin out. Yeah, this works shockingly well. Yeah, to slip my finger off the accelerator and just zigzag with the L2 and R2 buttons. That seems to work. Whoops. Hit the invisible wall again. I think the music's crapping out. Yeah, I thought there's supposed to be a soundtrack. I can't hear it. Did music just die in the emulation? I don't know what's going on here. Even these booster arrows don't seem to take you very far. It will help with shave like half a second off your corner. But that doesn't seem like much. Whoops. See, again, bouncing off the walls here is really rough. Like I said, it's like bumper cars, which might be a vibe some people like. And again, this game just doesn't have much personality. It just feels kind of flat, literally. Despite the hills. Despite the nauseating hills. I mean, I guess we're trying to get a sense of speed, not a sense of nausea, you know what I mean? Why do they even bother? But again, these stupid scaling bitmap graphics, yeah, I just passed that guy because he slowed down for some reason. Rubber banding AI, I guess. It's like these crappy looking bitmap graphics. I mean, again, just by looking at these visuals, do you think this is a more powerful console than the Super NES? I don't think it is. Maybe it's just doing things natively that the Super NES required a bit more, effort to pull off. Like, in other words, it's probably easier to make a Mario Kart-like game on this console than it is on the Super NES. But of course, Nintendo knew enough about their hardware to really push it forward. Like, Mario Kart is not an easy game to do. That was a second generation Super NES game, and it was really impressive. On that hardware, Super Mario Kart is a very impressive game. And I said in passing that's probably the most impressive racing game on the console still. Like, what else even competes with it, really? I mean, people like the Nigel Mansell game. That's a very sort of... Yeah, Nigel Mansell is a very, it's a very sim-heavy game. It's not the kind of game you'd play as a tech demo. And cut these corners. Out my way! Yeah, lay off the accelerator if you're going to use the L2 and R2 buttons. So I think you're maintaining speed while you go through these turns if you let your finger off the accelerator here. Like, you have to let your finger off the accelerator. Like, I never have to brake. In case you're wondering, I've never had to brake once. I'm just letting my finger off the accelerator and just using the L2 and R2 buttons to hit these corners. You might be able to power slide through them if you know what you're doing. But it's like you're doing a 45-degree angle if you use L2 or R2 to go through these corners. Like, it's a really tight turn. You just have to let your finger off the accelerator to take them. You can see how sharp, I mean, you probably can't do it. At this frame rate, you probably can't see how sharp these turns are, but I'm hitting them all, no problem. Maybe a little bit of adjustment using the D-pad to kind of line up the car properly, but it's working. I'm way ahead, I think. Of course, I can't see behind me. Why should there be a rear view in a racing game? And that boost from the hazard gave me a bit of a boost in the right direction coming out of that turn, so that's always nice. I'm about to lap Bentley. Suck it, Bear. So again, I'm just zigzagging using the L2 and R2 buttons, and like I said, if I lay my finger off, if I lay off the accelerator when I press L2 or R2, I can cut through those corners and never really lose much speed. So why even bother using there's no reason to use the brakes at all in this game. Of course, in Mario Kart, if you know what you're doing, you can power glide, but there's no power drifting in this game. At least not the way you're thinking of. So Mistress takes the point, takes the pole. No jokes, please. Bad Mr. Frosty takes the bronze. So we'll have to do a separate video at 60 frames a second, so you can at least get a better idea about how it feels. So this is a research stream, but now this game sucks too. So it's official. The batting average on this console is terrible. I mean, it is for most consoles, but it's probably true. A console should never be judged based on how much crap it generates, because by that logic, the NES is terrible. A console should be based on how many good games it produces. And unfortunately, I'm still trying to find a game that isn't a pinball game that doesn't suck on this console. What did I want to... Yeah, I want to show you Crystal Castles. I wanted to show you where Bentley Bear came from. Sort by platform. I could do that. I probably should have done that earlier. Arcade. Let's see. Bentley Bear is in Crystal Castles. Yeah, it was a trackball game. Obviously, I played it on the Atari 2600 back in the mid-1980s. I always hated the game. I liked the way it looked because I kind of liked its isometric Q*bert. It had an ending. I always liked the game's isometric Q*bert looking view as a kid, although I thought Q*bert was a better looking game. I kind of liked the attempt at them trying to do this isometric view. Marble Madness probably did it a bit better. But I never liked the controls. The controls are just way too slippery to me. So while I like the speed of playing with a trackball, it always bugged me that I had to deal with these really finicky. It felt like I was sliding around on ice when I was playing this game. I was never a fan of that. I never felt like I was ever in control of Bentley, even with that trackpad. It was just way too slippery. But I think a game like this with more conventional controls might have been pretty good. In fact, I think if this were a top-down game with more conventional controls, with tighter controls that were less slippery, I think this could have been a legitimately good game. Like, you can make this game a top-down game and make it like sort of easier to grasp, and make it more forgiving. But making it like this is just really frustrating. What are the controls? There's a jump. There's a jump, right? Yeah, jump. Okay, that's it. You can jump. There's a jump button in this game. So let's do it. These controls are just so slippery, dude. You have to feather the button. You just slide all around the screen. It's nuts. That's probably why some people like it, but it just drives me insane. Jump. Oh, they got the last gem. Okay. Yeah, they eat the gems too. I forgot. But there was a warp over there I forgot about. We'll play more of this game later, obviously. Yeah, you're supposed to. If the centipedes are eating gems, you can kill them. If you run into them while they're eating gems, which I always thought was a nice touch. But again, these controls are just really flaky. Yeah, they got the last gem. So it's like Pac-Man, except they can eat the power pellets. Except they can eat the pellets too. Invisible. Okay. So if I time it right, I can kill them while they eat the gems. It's too dangerous to touch them, which is the problem. See what I mean? They get too close to you. So again, this is the game where Bentley Bear was introduced. So yeah, I can't play Crystal Castles for more than like 5 minutes. It drives me nuts. The controls are too slippery. But it has potential, I think. It just never really achieved it because of how sloppy the controls were. I'm glad I can sort by platform because I need to play some Star Raiders eventually. We'll get around to that, obviously. Some of these I've never heard of iRobot at all. So I'm kind of curious how that's gonna go. 2600, 5200 is gonna be interesting. But apparently, like the 7800 version of Asteroids is apparently the definitive one. We'll play some of that later. What about 7200? Wasn't there a 5200 version of Asteroids? Well, I thought there was. We'll come back and play that later, obviously. Yars' Revenge deserves its own video, but it's going to be kind of hard for me to explain. I need like 5 minutes setting it up and then like 20 minutes trying to make any progress, so it's not going to go well, I think. The links. Yeah, the links will not go well. What is the... First of all, I know Basketball sucks. Backyard Dogs apparently terrible. Scrapyard Dogs apparently terrible, but we'll see how that goes. Turbo Sub, I'm kind of curious about. There are only 4 Lynx games on here? Like 5. 6. Warbirds apparently didn't suck. We'll see how that goes. Remember Red Baron on the Red Baron on PC? Maybe it's kind of like that. I played Wings 2 Aces High on this channel from the Super NES. Not great, but had a decent soundtrack actually, as I recall. Turbo Sub. Yeah, I doubt Turbo Sub's gonna be any good. We'll give it the college try. I did play Food Fight on several consoles. The arcade version is not bad, but it's one of those games where it's like you kind of want to play the original and just kind of tool around with the ports to see if they're any better. I make no promises. How can I sort? Can I sort by title? Yeah, Food Fight. There's the arcade version. I thought there was another Atari version. Maybe on the Commodore. Yeah, sure. I guess I thought there was another port of Food Fight. Well, maybe on the Commodore 64 there was. What are we unlocking here? Okay, it's probably some kind of vector sector garbage. Anything else that I know I have to play eventually? Like I said, I'm going to play the Lynx games eventually. I'm probably not going to like them. Real Sports Volleyball sucks, so we'll probably sample that a bit later. Missile Command, I thought I played on this channel already. We'll get around to that. Ninja Golf is objectively bad. Look. They tried to make Kung Fu and Ninja Warriors, and it sucked. They tried to make a golf game. They tried to combine it with a golf game, and it sucked. They tried to make like a third-person shooter dual boss fight, and that wasn't great either. So I mean, like, there's so many terrible games on these consoles. I wish I could be more, charitable, but a lot of these games are just a big fat waste of money. I gotta play Solaris. I'll get around to playing Solaris eventually. Solaris is one game I'm guaranteed to play on this channel before I take this back to the library. We'll see how it goes. I'll make room for Star Raiders later, but that seems to be very complicated. So we'll be back in a second, but let me get back to Kart Racers. Recently played, yeah. God, what a terrible freaking video game. What a terrible freaking console, I swear.